Hello and welcome everybody back once again to another coaching session with Amedeo Castorino and Mike Nause. We're going to be doing a little different track, of course, this week following the GT4 calendar, and tonight, a little bit of Watkins Glen action. We're on the hometown of, well, not my hometown, my home country, as we were in Amedeo's home country last week. It's only fitting that we move over to Watkins Glen this time around. But Amedeo, how are you doing on this fine evening for you, but afternoon for us over here in the States?
Yeah, it's all good. We will see to do a nice track guide again on this track. This time we'll go with the Porsche GT4 for change every time a bit of car, so you guys can see like every GT4, so everyone are more or less happy about that, I guess.
Exactly. And Amedeo, one thing that we also forgot to do before this is I forgot to ask you for a link for your Discord. We definitely are going to need that one. But either way, Amedeo offers coaching as well on his own. If you guys head on over to his Discord, the link will be posted very shortly. You can find his coaching there. 15% off if you mention the TRACKILICIOUS sent him. And of course, there are also other pieces of advice, little tidbits. Highly recommend joining the Discord over there and getting involved with Amedeo's community. But either way, we are going to be getting into this track guide relatively quick here. We're going to be keeping the chat on track tonight. Apologies to anyone that wants to derail, including myself. Adam Strange, welcome along as well. Relevant questions, if you guys have any questions about the track, do not hesitate to ask. We're going to be breaking this down corner by corner, and we highly encourage any rookie questions. That's what we're here for. We're here for the rookie calendar. We're following that calendar. And speaking of that, why don't I just show that off real quick? As you can see, the GT4 rookie calendar is up next at Watkins Glen, September 30th, along with the GT4 Open. We as well have our NASCAR Truck Series and iRacing GT4 with West Coast Wednesday on Wednesday. That's 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern. The GT3 Championship also heading on over to Olton Park very soon, but Kyalami up next. And of course, we have a couple special events on the way. The Spooky Suzuki, which is a livery competition on October 30th. We have the Sun Sprint at Zandvoort and also Flooded Silverstone. So lots of events here at TRACKILICIOUS. Get involved. Get in the Discord, !Discord for the TRACKILICIOUS Discord, as well as Amedeo's here, which I will be posting the link and then pinning up in the top of the YouTube and the Twitch chat. There is the link. And something went wrong. Please pin again. Okay, thank you very much. Twitch doesn't want to let me pin it. That's okay, that's okay. We'll head back to the booth here. While it doesn't want me to do nice things, unfortunately. But Amedeo, I guess that's enough rambling. Welcome everyone that is here. Let's get down to the track guide.
Yeah, so we can start about turn 1, of course. We have the braking points at the 200 meter board. It's basically a bit before it, so like 10 meters before it. Of course, you want to brake as much as possible on the left, so don't forget to use all the track. As you can see, I'm just on the limit of touching the grass, so like more track you will use, better is for your corner. So we want to brake very straight for the first like 100 meters, as you can see. I'm starting to turn in at this Fanatec marker, the second to last one of it. And I'm still braking 100% at this point. And on the last one, we will say, of this sponsor meterboard, I'm starting to release a bit of braking power. I'm not anymore on 100%, I'm on 80%, now I'm on 20%. And now I'm starting to put a lot of steer angle for make the car rotate. Like I'm trying to forcing the car to rotate in this corner as quickly as possible, so I can go very soon on throttle. And in this corner, it's very important to be slow on your entry for have a very good exit, because after this corner you will have a very long straight. So a common mistake could be like brake a bit too late there and go too late on throttle. As a reference, like if you are doing everything good on entry, you should be able to go on throttle more or less on the apex of the corner, and you can go very aggressively on throttle on third gear there. Like you shouldn't have any problem of traction in this corner. And for the exit, you want also to use all the track as possible. um, if you are touching with the right tires the curb, the lap is valid, so it's quite a clear reference there for track limits. And yeah, that's pretty much it from turn one. So slow entry. Try to also don't take too much the inside curb, like only with the right tires a little bit, but don't go over these small line on the middle, because over that your car will touch a bit the ground, so you will lose a bit of stability and of course also a bit of speed. So try to aim to touch this curb only with the right tires. And yeah, that's it about turn one, if there are no any question.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I can't really. It's a pretty simple corner. I mean, it's a 90-degree
Yeah.
right-hander at the end of the day. It is literally called the 90 in the first corner. So a fairly bare bones and basic corner. Chat, again, if you guys have any questions, Sasha, welcome as well. I see you are a Porsche driver, so you might be the one to have the questions here tonight. And again, any of the cars that you guys drive, you can feel free to ask about that. But feel free, Sasha, to keep thinking. You can always come back. We can always come back to the corners, because we're going to be heading now into the S's, which in a GT3 is pretty simple, but in a GT4 is a little bit different.
If you're alone, shouldn't be that hard to do it flat out. Maybe on Slipstream it's a bit more complicated, and I will say also with some GT4 like the AMG GT4 you could have a bit of understeer. With the Porsche GT4 it's quite simple. And anyway, what you want to do is don't go too soon on the right here. As you can see, I'm still on the left for a lot of time, and I'm starting to turn in a little bit before of the end of this curb. So you want to have the better angle as possible for this corner, and then you want to stay very tight to the inside curb, but without touching it, because if you touch it, you will lose a bit of speed because the car will touch the ground, so you will lose a bit of speed for that reason. You want to stay very tight, then you go a bit on the middle of the track for prepare the left corner, and again you want to stay tight without touching the curb. And same thing here, you stay tight without touching the curb all the time. And yeah, with the Porsche GT4 is very simple. Maybe with MG or Chevrolet could be a bit harder, but the line is always the same. And I think also of this track, I will advise to work a lot. Like the setup is quite unusual in this track with the GT4 and also with GT3 especially, because you want usually a very oversteer setup, especially on throttle, because of all these long corner that we will see later. You want to make rotate the car a lot on throttle, so try to put a setup that have this characteristic, and for do that, like you can, for example, put a lot of rear bump on the dampers, or maybe put a stiff wheel rate on the rear, stiff arb on the rear. Like try to put a stiffer rear on the car for have more rotation of throttle on this track, and also probably also a lot of ride high on the rear of the track of the car is helping.
And another
Then we
great
can go.
place that you can find
Yeah.
setups, by the way, is just wanted to plug real quick. Head on over to Amedeo's Discord. Again, he has setups that you guys can take, all of his setups, and he can help you out with that as well. But now, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
No, I was waiting for you.
Oh, I'm going to change the subject, so go ahead.
Okay. No, I was just saying, yeah, that if someone is interested, I'm also offering, of course, all my setups. So I was just going to say that. And yeah, for the bus stop chicane, as a brake marker, we can take the 300-meter board. We brake like 10 meters before it. Also, we start to trail brake very early there. Like we take the 200-meter board as a reference, and I'm starting to trail brake in this corner. Just keeping this 10% of braking power for slow down a bit the car without losing too much of agility on the front. And then an important thing that we saw already on Imola especially, before touching the curb, because this curb is very high, I'm starting to go on throttle, so the front of the car will be more, we
Lifted.
raise the front of the car. so the ride high on the front will be higher, and also the suspension have more travel to play with, and so it will be more easy to take this curve. And also, I'm putting a lot of steer angle for, again, rotate the car, and also for it's helping to take this curve, like putting a lot of steer angle, because the car is a bit inclined on the left. So since the highest part of the curve is on the right, like you want to be like a bit more higher on the right part of the car if it's possible. Um, yeah, so you go like 30% of throttle for take it better, and you want to stay also very tight to the inside. Like we can see from the chase cam that I am very near to the inside grass there. When I'm down from the curb, I'm braking a bit again for slow down the car, because I have too much speed for do these two corners right now. But again, I want to, like, before taking the curb, I like release the brakes and go again on throttle again for the same motivation as before. And in this part, I want to stay tighter as possible, because it's like are two corners, so you want to take the apex of this corner and also of this corner, so you want to stay very tight. And so you can go a lot aggressively on throttle. Once, like, when you are down from the curb, you can go full throttle because the car is stable again. And then you want to stay very tight again on the left, use all the track also on the right. Then you go a little bit wider, but not too much, like you stay on the middle of the track before preparing this right corner. And this corner, you just lift the throttle and maybe touch. Yeah.
Before we get into the outer loop here, can we back up? I guess. Or wait, are we? Yeah. Was that the outer loop? Was that? Yeah, we were heading into the outer loop there. Correct. That was the next part. Or where were we? I was blind there.
This is the bus stop chicane.
Yeah, we're still in the bus stop. Okay. I wanted to make a quick question on the entry here. So,
yes,
one of the biggest issues I find, and this is something we talked about last week, and I got to give some credit where credit's due to the rookies, is they listened, Amedeo. They listened to your advice. They lifted off early into the first corner at Monza, and we didn't have a disaster. So credit to the rookies for making that work. One thing that I often see here is a lot of overtaking attempts. Now, this isn't the best spot to make an overtaking attempt when it comes. It looks like it. It's a very enticing, long, straight run. But at the end of the day, this is not necessarily the most advantageous overtaking opportunity. You want to maybe explain why that is, Amedeo, and how much disaster can unfold here?
Yeah, I mean, in this part, I will say you can overtake, but you should overtake like on the straight. Like, don't try to overtake on the corner. Like, the only time that you can try to do it, it's only if you are side by side. Like, if you are not side by side, don't even think about it. And an advice is always cover the inside there, because who have the inside in this before this corner, 90% of the times will get the overtake or will defend the position. And like the thing is that's very easy to crash because there are not much space for two cars in this corner, and also because if you go like over this curve, it's very easy to lose the car, also lose a bit your line and touch the other car, and yeah, have a big crash also because the speed is high in this corner. It's not a 80 kilometers per hour corner, it's like 200 kilometers per hour corner. Yeah. So like the crash will be very hard. That wall
looks really far away right now, but I can assure you that wall approaches extremely quickly when you mess this corner up and you're side by side with somebody. I'm not saying I know that from experience or anything like that, but I'm just saying be cautious, okay? That's lift off early. This is another one of the corners. Again, if you are not, and when Amedeo says side by side, if you are not side by side, wing mirror to wing mirror, there's really, at the level that we're talking here with the rookies especially, just back out. It's not worth it. Yeah. It's just not worth it in this corner. Yeah, also, you're either going to clip that inside wall or you're going to end up on that stationary, as Amadeo's zooming in. Those little bollards off to the left, they don't move. You hit those are
Yeah,
brick
exactly.
walls.
Especially like some people think that behind this spirally board, like you can go over it, but behind
Nope.
that there are these red, like it's like hit a wall because it's not moving at all. So if you hit that, you will have like 2 minutes of damage, and yeah, your race is over. So
Yeah.
like be careful in this corner. Like I will advise that you can overtake like on turn one, especially also because you have very big like how you call it, the asphalt. You have the asphalt, on the
Yeah, a lot of
outside.
runoff area.
Yeah, of runoff. So even if you overshoot it, like nothing too bad should happen in turn one. So I think it's a better and safer overtake spot turn one than this one.
Yeah. But also, even on turn one, it's a very high speed corner. You still want to be fully alongside. It's tough to make a lunge from 2/10 back, even in the first corner.
Yeah, that's if you are maybe 1/10 behind, you can try it, but yeah, it's also not that worth to do it because if you overtake on turn one but your exit is very bad, probably the guy that you overtaken, like he will overtake you again on this state because if your exit is very bad, like probably you will lose the position again, especially if your car is slower on the straight.
And
So
especially in the GT4s as well, is these cars
yeah,
are very momentum based, and when you lose that
exactly.
momentum, it's really hard to pick that back up. And now, before we continue moving on here, there's one last question, not necessarily about this corner, but about setup. And again, Amedeo has all setups available in his Discord. I posted a link there. But is zero wing a good idea for the Porsche? This is something that I have no idea about.
Uh, no, I don't think so. In this track,
Okay.
it's a good idea because you need a very oversteer setup, as I said before, and you want a bit of like downforce because if you have an oversteer setup with low downforce, you will have no stability basically. So maybe I think I will advise, especially for rookie, to stay between, I think 4 is the maximum values or 5 of the Porsche. Stay between 2 and 5, like don't go on 0 or wing 1 because you will lose a lot of stability, especially in this chicane. It's not easy to do if you don't have a lot of wing. And because also if you go low wing but with a very safe setup, yeah, you will be safe but you will be very slow because you will have a lot of understeer on these fast corners. So better to stay maybe with a worse top speed but a very good rotation in these fast corners and stability.
Awesome. I think that covers that.
Yeah, so we can go to the next corner, I guess. I don't know the name of this corner, but
The outer loop.
okay. So as I said, you want to stay on the middle before doing this corner, in the middle of the track. I start to lift the throttle. As a reference, you can take these change of asphalt from like black to gray, I will say. Basically, a bit later of it, but just a bit, you want to lift the throttle. And also depend on how much rotation you have. Maybe you need just to lift a bit the throttle. Maybe as me, you need to brake a little bit. Usually with the GT4, you always need to brake a little bit for have a bit of rotation. And especially with GT3, like I think that you have to do in this corner, that's a common mistake and can't can feel counterintuitive. It's don't lift too much aggressively the throttle in this corner because more aggressively you lift the throttle, more rotation you will have. But especially with the GT3 that have a lot of rotation, you can lose all the stability of the car. So like keeping also always a bit of throttle input, like will make your car more stable. Like you will have more understeer, but the car will be more stable. So in this corner, you just have to play with it. Like if you have very oversteer setup, you can just stay a bit on throttle for have stability and put load on the rear. If you have a lot of understeer, you will need to brake a little bit for put a bit of load and energy on the front tires for make rotate the car faster, as I need to do in this moment. Also, so you want to stay very tight in this corner. Like, don't touch the curb for the first part, but in the second part, maybe you will touch it. And on throttle, you can go very aggressively in this corner, like from 0 to 100%. very aggressively, you will never lose the car on traction with GT4 there. The problem is like if your line is a bit bad, like if you are a bit wide and you go too much and too early on throttle, you will have a lot of understeer, so you will lose completely your line and maybe you have to lift the throttle later, and it's not a good idea because you will lose a lot of time.
And you
Anyway,
mentioned,
yeah.
sorry to interrupt, but I just want to break down real quick because I think that was a little complicated when you're mentioning on the different ways that you can take the entry of this corner. Because you say, I guess, let me back up here. Using, in this instance, you use that little slip road as your point to get on the throttle. You had mentioned if you have different levels of braking. Can you kind of maybe re-explain that one a little bit? Even I didn't quite catch that.
I say that depend how is your setup and your car, like that. If your setup you have oversteer, you stay a bit on throttle for make the car stable, and if you have understeer, you will do the opposite, like you will brake a little bit for rotate the car. But like in this moment, I was just lifting the throttle in this moment, and that is the difference. Like in this part, I was braking because I want to rotate the car. Like if your car is already rotating a lot, you will not need to go on the brake, but you can just stay in coasting or stay still a bit on throttle for have more stability.
Okay, let
Is
me.
that you?
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Let me simplify that even just a little bit more here for some
Yeah.
people that might be a little confused by that. So kind of what he's mentioning is if you back up a little bit here to when you're right about to enter the corner, Amedeo. So let's say right as you're going into this corner here, you accelerated a little bit too long. You're going to be understeering a little bit by the time he reaches that corner entry. So let's say he's nice and tight. Let's say you're a little bit wider than he is right now. What he's saying is you might need to use the brake a little bit more to get that car to kind of rotate back onto line better versus if you were to say get off the accelerator early because you're not braking in this corner. Or are we braking? We're not braking in this corner, correct?
Yeah, just like 10% in this
Okay,
moment.
so yeah, right, just for the rotation, correct. So we're braking mid-corner versus entry. So versus if we lift off the throttle earlier, get on the brakes a little earlier, you might have to bleed off and then able to get onto the throttle and pick that up even earlier than you otherwise might if you're slow in, prioritizing that fast out exit. And using that slip road as an accelerating point, is that a good point of reference? Because I can see that's kind of like the best example that I can see for when to get on the throttle.
Is what I was going to say, that for going off throttle, like if you are tighter like that, like you can use this as a reference.
Did that make sense, chat? Let us know if that made sense, please, because that is it's a tough corner. This is one of the more difficult corners, I think, here, because you're setting up for an entire corner complex coming up. It's not necessarily, this isn't one corner. It is one corner, but it's setting up for the future. And yeah, just let us know if you have any questions about this corner. We'll be sure to dissect it. But I think for now, we'll move on.
Yeah, and I want to like let you see that how the braking for get rotation is working, because you can see how far I'm from the inside curve, and now I'm starting to braking like 10%, and I'm closing a lot to the inside curve, as you see. Like my line now is a lot tighter because I made the car rotate with the brakes. And yeah, another thing is, if your line is a bit bad, maybe you will need to wait a bit more for going on throttle in this moment. Also depends a lot on your setup, how your car is rotating, depends on every GT4. So if you are not able to go on throttle that soon, like don't worry about it, but you can take this as a reference. Like maybe you will not able to go on throttle at the beginning of this point where the guardrail is ending, but maybe you can do it in this point. So like just for have a reference, more or less. Then you want to try to stay tighter as possible in this part. Even if you go a bit wider on the exit, it's fine. Like the thing is, try to have more momentum as possible in this corner for the exit. Then we go to the next corner. We go all on the right for the better line as possible. As a brake reference, there I take this thing that I don't know what is it and how to call it.
Where I can't see your cursor right now, Amedeo, on
Okay, is okay.
the
How you? I
drainage
didn't get it.
grate.
Yeah, exactly. Like you break like 30 meters before it. Like I take it as a reference because I didn't see any other reference point. Maybe you can take this sponsor, but it's very on the right, so it's difficult to see it while you're breaking. But yeah, like you can take also this line that it's a bit darker as a reference, but you want always to break like 20 meters before it, so it's not that clear the breaking point there.
Can you back it up a little bit? And I'm just
Yeah.
curious. I wonder if there's something here that I can maybe notice. Yeah, kind of. Basically, as soon as you see the drainage grate, really, as soon as it becomes visible, is kind of when you're getting on the brakes, right? A little after it becomes visible.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that's a good reference.
Yeah, or the more grippy line, like that's are the reference anyway. You downshift to third gear in this corner. Also, you start to trail brake very early in this corner because it's very easy to lock up or lose the rear. So you don't want to have too much load on the front. As you can see, like I'm very far to the corner, but I'm still starting to trail braking now. I'm only on 50% braking power. Um, you want to stay tighter as possible on entry. As you can see, I'm going on throttle there because I want to stabilize a bit my car because like I felt the rear of my car was very light, so was sliding too much. And for stabilize it, I went a bit on throttle, as you can see, but I'm just putting this 10-20% of throttle for stabilize the car. I'm not like already on the exit and going off throttle for have more speed. And yeah, you want to stay tighter as possible, so you can go on throttle very early then. As you can see now, I'm accelerating a lot. I'm at 80-90% on throttle, and I'm very, very tight on the inside. I'm all on the left curb. Because on the exit, it's very easy then to go wide. As you can see, I'm using nearly all the track. Also because on the right, if you go over this curb, when the curb become more small, if you hit the grass in this point, there is also a very big bump that it's very dangerous because you can lose the car on it, or anyway you will lose a lot of time. So by the chase cam, we use all the time the track. Start to trail brake very soon. Aim to the apex very soon and stay very tight, so you can go on throttle very soon. Use all the track on the exit, and try to don't go on the grass, of course, on this corner. And yeah, again, you want to prepare very well the exit and stay very tight um, from the apex, because if you go wider there, you will lose a lot of time because you on the exit of the corner, like the track will be like less large. We'll say like it's the exit is very close of this corner. Like it feels the corner is very open, but at the end it will close very very quickly.
Now, there's a really good question here from Alex
Yeah.
in chat asking about your. I noticed as well, you're using your throttle and your brake simultaneously. Now, is this something that I mean? Obviously, you're mentioning that you're doing that for stability, not necessarily to gain the traction. Is this something that rookies should be practicing, or is this maybe? I guess how much time are you gaining out of that in particular? Because that's a very advanced tactic, using both pedals at the same time. It takes a little bit of mental capacity, I guess, is what, for some of the newer drivers that haven't necessarily built that up yet.
It's not a technique that you need. Like there are also pro that like to do that and who don't like to do that. Like for I didn't even think to do that. Like I do it normally because is what I feel from the car. Like now I'm going on throttle for stabilize it. Then I'm struggling a bit of on rotation, so I'm touching the brake, but I'm still touching the throttle. It's like just for balance the car, because again, when you go on throttle, the weight will go to the rear. When you brake, will go to the front. So by doing a bit of throttle and brakes, I was just trying to stabilize the car, because for me the car was not perfectly stable on this corner. So you don't need to do that. Like, do this only if you feel that you need to do it, but you don't have to think to work for do it. Like, it's not a technique that you will make necessarily faster.
Yeah, play with it. You know, Alex, I think that's just the bested piece of
Yeah,
advice is try it out, see if it works for you. If it doesn't, don't worry about it.
exactly. So for the next corner, it's another complicated corner. You brake before later than the 200-meter board, or no, pretty much on point of the 2 meters, 200 meters board. Maybe a bit later. It's hard to say from the cam. Okay, yeah, it's a bit later, but like 5 meters. And you have to stay very careful on entry, because in this corner, um, you can see that you have also a bit of camber in this corner, and it's very easy to touch the ground while you are braking, because when you brake, the front of the car will be more close to the ground, and in this corner, the car, especially the Porsche GT4, is touching a lot the ground. So more wider you will go, more you will touch the ground, and more the car will go straight. So you want to stay very tight to the inside from the first momentum. As a reference for turn in, you can see that I'm starting to turn in before the 100-meter board, and I'm aiming to the inside curve very early. Like, you can also stay more tighter than me. Like, a bit tighter than that will be even better. That the line that I made in that lap. Because again, if you go a bit wider there, you will have a lot of understeer. Maybe I can see if I have an example of that in other laps. I remember I made it one time, like, yeah, not too much wide.
It's a tough corner.
Yeah, yeah, anyway, yeah. Yeah, I don't have an example there, I think. Yeah, this lap maybe. Yeah, as you can see, I overshoot a little bit the braking zone. And if you overshoot it, you will go completely straight, because the front of the car will touch all the time the ground, and you is not responding the front of the car. Like, I'm trying to turn in, but the car is not turning. So make sure to don't overshoot this corner under braking. Brake safe, stay very close to the inside from the beginning. It's third gear corner, again with the Porsche, but I think with every GT4 it's third gear corner. And for going on throttle, you can take as a reference, it's pretty much on the middle of the corner. There are not clear reference, I think. Like, it's basically when you are on the apex. You can take it this sponsor on the left, maybe, as a reference, like, or the Marshall place. Like, basically when you see that you are, yeah, when you didn't see it anymore, for sure you have to go on throttle, we'll say that. So that's can be your reference. And yeah, you want to stay also very tight when you are on throttle. You just start to open the steer on the last phase. Because again, if you go too wide, you will start to touch the ground, and you will have a lot of understeer in this corner. We'll show also by the chase cam. Like, you can see also from the chase cam that when the car is starting to touch a bit the ground, we'll go a bit straight. Like, in that moment, I'm losing a bit of responsive from the front of the car.
And then
Any question about that, Mike?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think here how to. I think you've covered it pretty well. I was just seeing if I could simplify it a little more, but I think it's just a tough corner. One of the questions we do have,
Yeah.
though, is how much time would you be losing if you were using TC1 here? As Sasha's saying that this is a bit of a slippery sector at the top in particular. And would TC1 be advisable or not in this case?
Like you are talking only about this corner or the whole lap? How
Yeah,
much time
this
you will
corner.
lose?
I think they were specifically asking about this corner. So
I think with TC1 you will not lose too much. I think like probably half a tenth, something like that. Like also I think if you use TC1 for the whole lap, the difference should be around 3/10, 2/10, not that much. So it's maximum half a tenth you will lose in that
okay.
corner by using TC. But yeah, it's a bit complicated on throttle. This corner and also the next corners are a bit complicated on throttle. Also because my setup wasn't with the best traction, because I said before you want a lot of rotation on throttle on this track. So of course you will lose a bit of traction if you want a rotation on throttle. And yeah, we can go to the next corner. Also in this corner, it's very important to do a good exit because you have a straight on after this corner. It's not that big, but if you have a bad exit, you will lose anyway a bit of time.
Can you back up real quick? I just want to watch this corner. I think I might have picked up another reference point that you can use for accelerating, but I also might not have. I'm curious.
Okay.
Let me see if I have. I think I did actually. Yeah. So go back a little bit more. So when we start to pick up the throttle, you can see that brown patch starting to come into vision on the right-hand side, on the inside yellow and red curbs. You can see the kind of in a little bit of a distance. There's that little brown patch. I feel like that could be a decent reference point when you see that. To the right, I wish you could see my cursor right now.
Yeah.
And then the one forward, the one the yellow one right up ahead. Oh my goodness! No, we're going the wrong
I
way.
didn't.
Keep playing,
Okay.
keep playing the video. I'll tell you when the car gets next to it.
Okay. Wait. I have to do that.
Because I think this is actually a decent spot to use for a reference. Keep going.
Okay.
Keep going. That little brown patch right there to the right of the car, you can see. Back it up. Back it up. How are you? Am I blind? Back it up a little bit.
I'm not seeing it.
It's clearly not that good. The one right at the back of the car, the brown patch at the back of the car. All right, it's not a good reference. It's not a good reference is what I'm learning. Clearly, if Amedeo can't see it, then no one else is going to see it. So that's fine. Moving on. If you know what I'm talking about, that right there, next to the car, that little brown patch in the grass.
This one?
I can't see your cursor.
Yeah, okay, wait. Is this one?
Yes, that right there. Exactly, yes. As soon as that comes into vision, if you back it up, I think that's when you start to get on the throttle.
It's a bit complicated as a reference, I will say.
Yeah, but your eyes are going to be looking there anyways. That's where your eyes are going to be in the corner, right?
I mean, you don't see the cursor, but like you will watch to the right patch, to the brown patch in this moment. So like
Chad, if it works for you, it works for you. You now have another reference point. You can
like
either use
when you are.
Yeah. I just wanted to point that out.
You are watching more later. But yeah, it's another reference anyway. Like it's personal what you want to use as a reference, of course.
That's my reference.
Yeah. You can use also the sponsor on the left, like when they start, basically when you are on the middle of it, like you can start it as a reference. But yeah, it's a bit complicated.
As Washed Up Squid saying, just never lift and you'll go faster.
Exactly.
When in doubt, flat out.
Okay, after this trying to get the throttle reference, we go to the next corner, where you brake at a bit later than 200 meters board. Just 5 meters later, I will say 10 meters maximum. And you downshift to third gear again, and you start to turn in a bit later than 100 meter board. You also go very aggressively again with the steering for making the car rotate, and again you want to go very soon to the apex and touching all the curb on the inside, and so you will be able to go very soon on throttle. Basically at the apex of the corner you will be able to go on throttle. As a reference, maybe you can take again this brown patch on the grass if you like it, because there is pretty much when you have to go on throttle, and you want to stay very tight because then you can go more straight with the steering wheel once you go on throttle, because you can clearly see that I was on 90 degrees. I'm starting to go on throttle, and as the torque is coming, I'm pretty much not straight with the steering wheel, but I have a lot of less degrees than before. So you can open the steer and use all the track on the exit if you are tight from the entry of this corner. And yeah, especially if you use TC1, you can go also very aggressively with the throttle with the GT4 because you don't have a lot of torque and power. And yeah, again, don't overshoot the corner because especially with GT4, if you go a bit wider, you will lose a lot of time because the K is carrying the momentum with these cars. Yeah, for the next corner, it's a hairpin. You brake at this sponsor is your reference. Like you brake like 5 meters before it because as you can see, I'm just starting to brake in this moment. And you want to go much as possible on the right for that corner. Again, you aim to the apex very soon. I'm starting to tail braking and stay in third gear. I think all GT4 want to stay in third gear because if you downshift in second, you will probably lock the rear because the differential is very sensitive with this car. And you want also to stop to brake very early. As you can see, I'm not trail braking anymore because again, you have a little bit of camber in this corner. So it's very easy to unsettle the car in the entry of this corner. So you stop to brake very early. I'm just touching a little bit again, like 5% in this moment, but that's it. And you want to go on throttle very early, like before the apex, I'm already going on throttle because that's helping me to rotate the car a little bit, have a bit of stability because I put a bit of load on the rear, so the front, I'm not sliding too much because I have all the load on the front. I will just a bit slide maybe on the rear because I have rotation on throttle, and also because I will have more speed by going on throttle. So you go to the apex very soon, and basically when you are exactly on the middle of the corner, you will start to go on throttle for make the car rotate. If you are very tight, you can do it. I'm going 70-80% of throttle because it's very easy to lose the car because of the camber in this corner. As you can see, I have a snap oversteer also because my setup have a lot of rotation on throttle. And then until my car is stable on the exit, I can go full throttle. And you use all the track for the exit. As you can see, I'm very near to the curb on the outside. And it's a corner where you can easily gain 2-3 tenths by doing the correct line. So make sure that you are braking early, brake a bit earlier than this board. Go very soon to the apex, so make sure also to don't brake too much into the corner because you will unsettle the car there. And just start to go on throttle. Maybe don't go 70-80% as I'm doing if you don't feel confident, also because as you can see I had a snap oversteer by doing that, but start to punt the throttle like on 30-40% at least at the apex of the corner.
Yeah, and then play with it a little bit, see if you can do more. Also, I wanted to go back because there's one thing that I absolutely hate about the AC or about just racing in general. I hate using braking markers. I never like to use the braking boards that are there because they can get destroyed. That's one of the biggest things about that board in particular. Is it's a vulnerable, that's in a very vulnerable position, and you can find yourself in the race without that. So is there any other, I see another, there's that dark patch of gravel that you're pretty much going to be braking right after. Again, those little dark patches are something that I personally have found that I like to use my reference points. They've helped me out tremendously in my driving, so that might be another piece. But always I would recommend rookies and anyone out there that doesn't do this, if you're using those stationary braking boards, find an alternative reference. It's okay to use them while they're there, but you need a fail-safe plan in case it does go wrong. So have a backup plan in mind in case that board does end up getting destroyed. It will pay you dividends at the end of the day because you'll actually know where to brake.
Exactly. And yeah, there luckily you have also the board on the left. Like I never use it anyway, even if we lose that one, I never use it on the left because I don't know, I don't like it personally because like in this moment you will not even see the left board because also you are start aiming to watch on the apex or on the corner in this moment. So, but yeah, you can use the grippy line also. That it's
true.
not that clear to see there.
Yeah.
And also this brown patch, like you can take it also as a reference, like a bit later than this brown patch.
And another question here from Steven Tomazik is, does taking a wider line for a later apex sometimes better on that turn?
In this corner, I don't think so, because since there is also a bit of camber, you will have too much understeer, so it's more what you are losing on the entry that what you will gain on the exit. And I don't think you even gain a lot on the exit by going wide on the entry in this corner for a late apex. So no, it's never faster in this corner, go wider.
There we go.
And like I can tell you, because in some laps I overshoot a bit the entry, so I was a bit wider and I lost 2 tenths because the exit was pretty much the same, but in the middle of the corner I lost a lot of time because I made more meters and also my minimum speed. And that's the problem, because with the GT4 you want to carry in the momentum, so if you go wider, maybe you will be able to go on throttle earlier and more aggressively, but you will start from a minimum speed that it's lower, so it's not worth with GT4 because you don't have a lot of torque.
Awesome. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, we can go to the next two corners. This corner is, the key is make the car rotate, is what you have to do for make this corner fast. In this corner you brake, but not too much. Is you brake just for put rotation on the car. Also, you start to turn in basically a bit later of the 200-meter board. And also a common mistake is that people are not using all the track in this corner, because you can see that the grass is going a bit diagonally here. So in the last moment, this asphalt between the white line and the grass, it's a bit bigger, so you can use it. As you can see, I'm going to use it. And also another thing is that I'm going like a bit straight there, then going into the right and turning into the left. So that's causing more rotation in the car. It's helping to rotate the car. And yeah, you start to turn in, still going off throttle, like I'm lifting a little bit, like on 70%, something like that. And then a bit before the starting on of the curb on the left, I'm nearly completely off throttle and I'm touching a bit the brakes. I'm doing again a bit throttle and brake technique, but you can just stay a bit on the brakes only, or yeah, I think it's always better to hit a bit the brakes there because it's helping a lot to rotate the car. Because it's always better to brake a little bit, but then you can go a lot sooner on throttle, because if you only lift the throttle, you will have to wait a lot for rotate the car, so you will have to wait a lot for going on throttle again, and it's a slower technique. So you just tap a bit the brakes for make the car rotate, stay very tight, and then you can go on throttle again very early. As a reference for go on throttle, you can probably use this brown patch. You go pretty much when you are on it, on throttle. And yeah, basically is the case make rotate the car as quickly as possible and going off throttle as quickly as possible, and go on the limit of use the track on the exit. Like the track limits is you have to stay with the left tires in like on the inside of this line on the middle of the curb, basically is the reference for track limits.
I do have
And
one question here. If we back up to the entry, I don't think the bar was going. When exactly are we getting on brakes here, and for how long are we braking? Because it's kind of a bit of a punch on the brakes, it seems, with a bit of a trail braking in the middle. It doesn't seem like we're braking necessarily hard here, but I just couldn't quite see it. It was just covered up.
yeah, you start to brake basically a bit before this curb and a bit later than the 100-meter board. That's the reference, like in the middle of these two points.
And you're not getting on 100%. You're only getting up to like 30, you say. Okay.
More probably also like 10. You just like
Okay.
tap a little bit, like less as possible, basically, because if you brake too much there are two things that can happen. Or you will go like crazy understeer and the front of the car will be not responsive, or will have too much of oversteer because the rear will be very light. I think with the GT4 probably the first option is what will happen, or maybe anyway you will make the corner but just too much slow because you are slow down the car too much.
Gotcha.
And for how long is like you take the reference that we said, and I don't know, it's like 1-2 seconds. Like you just have to. You can take a reference of how much. Like you need to feel how much you are rotate the car. Like it's just once the car rotates enough, you can stop to brake and start to go on throttle if you are tight on the inside curb. That's basically it.
Yep, that makes sense. Yeah, I feel like there are a lot of rookies currently doing that corner very wrong, so I feel like that's going to help out a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, the key is again start to lift the throttle early anyway. And because if you miss the apex, you will have to wait a lot of time for going on throttle on the exit. And again, the key is carrying the minimum speed on this corner, has all the corner with the GT4s. So yeah, make sure to do the correct line and don't try to overdrive, because especially with GT4 is not worth. We go to the last corner. We want to start to go on the left as soon as possible, so our braking phase will be more straight as possible. We go to the left, turn a bit on the right for don't go too much on the left. And as you can see, I'm trying to brake as much as possible with a straight steering wheel. I am braking on 100% of braking force, but not for too much. I'm start to trail braking very soon. I keep third gear with the Porsche Cup, with the Porsche GT4.
He's done it, chat.
Well, what?
You said it right. Congratulations.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
Because of your coaching session of pronunciation.
I feel so proud. I'm like a proud dad.
I wasn't even thinking about my pronunciation, so I don't know how I get it. We take it. My advice is try to don't downshift in this corner, because a downshift will unsettle the car a lot in this corner. And again, use all the track, this time on the left, like I'm very close to the grass again. Braking 100%, but start to trail braking very early. And as a brake reference, you can take this wall on the left. Basically, when this wall ends, you start to brake. And yeah, again, you want to make sure that carrying a good minimum speed and prepare very good the exit, because after this corner you will have a straight. So it's crucial to have a good exit from that corner. And as a turn-in reference, we can take it a bit earlier than when the grass will go diagonally here. And as a throttle application, I don't know actually a
Crossing
reference
pit line.
point.
The pit line, I think, is a good
Yeah,
reference.
yeah. When you after that you cross the pit lane line, you can go on throttle basically. And yeah, as you can see, the K is stay tighter as possible again when you are on the apex, touching a little bit the curb with the right tires. And because you don't want to also take it safe, because if you start to go too much wide, you will hit the wall. Or even if you see that you are going too wide and then you have to lift the throttle, like let's say in this moment, because you want to avoid it to hit the wall, you will lose a lot of time. So make sure that you are not overshooting the entry, because you will pay a hard price, because you will lose a lot of time on the exit. So always better in this corner to lose maybe 1/10 on the entry, but do a good exit, because if you make a bad exit, you will lose around 3/4 in that corner, because you have a straight after that. So make sure to do it basically. And yeah, that's it.
Yep. Can we go back to the braking spot for that final corner? That was one thing that
Yes.
I kind of, again, wanted to look at, because there's really not much. Okay, that wall. I think you had mentioned that before, kind of the start of that
Yeah,
wall,
yeah.
right? Yeah, okay.
At the end of this wall on the left, basically you start to brake.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. Couple questions as well. So, I mean, for the final corner here, honestly, I mean, again, it's just another 90-degree. The wall, obviously, I think is the biggest point of conversation that the rookies are going to be that have made contact with a time or two in their day, I would have imagined, and I'm sure yourself has also done that. You mentioned just kind of, I guess, just not overshooting the final corner is kind of the biggest thing. So would you say just backing off a couple percent on that final corner just to make sure that you don't hit the wall? If you are worried about doing that, that would maybe be the best solution?
Yeah, always take a bit of margin for the last corner, because it's not only about, as I said, hit the wall and have damage, but also if like you realize that you are going to hit the wall in this moment, by lifting the throttle in this moment, you will lose a lot of time, more than the margin that you took for doing it safe. So take your margin for the last corner, make sure that you are doing it safe, and prepare the exit. That's it, basically.
Makes sense. Also, Mace Windu, Mason Prochowski, thank you so much for the 9-month sub in a row. That's almost a year. My goodness, thank you so much for your continued support. Also, thank you for the follow as well. I missed the name, but thank you for that. There was one more question, I think. Wasn't there? Did I miss one? Mason saying that these track guides are the reason that he is the GT4 champion. Hey, let's go. Let's go. Okay, there we go. That was the question. So what, Amedeo, are some of the best corners for overtaking? And I think I unfortunately know the answer to this one. It's really only turn one at the end of the day, right? I mean, it's for real overtaking chances.
If yeah, I mean, if the guy in front of you do some mistake, maybe you will have other chance. But the only other overtaking spot is this one, I will say. It's quite hard. Like you have the chance only if probably the guy in front of you will have a bad exit from that corner, because you can't send too hard. You can't do a big dive bomb in this corner, because it's not a hard braking zone. So you can do it just if you are side by side, basically, or just very close to the guy in front of you, and you can try to overtake in this spot. But there are no many other, because in this one you can try only if you are side by side. If you're not side by side, it's very hard, because if you brake too late in this corner, it's very easy to overshoot it or lose the rear. So it's not like it's just a last lap trying to overtake like a very with a high risk.
Yeah, and
then
sorry, continue. No, continue.
Yeah, just the best overtaking spot probably is turn one, or this straight. Like the best thing is trying to prepare turn one, I will say, the exit, and try to overtake the guy in front of you before the entry of this corner.
Yeah, if you're not fully alongside by the time you reach the 400 braking board or the 500, it goes all the way back to the 5 or 6. How many braking boards are there on that long straight? Can we check that out? It's because I know there's quite a few. But if you're not fully alongside by the time the 6, if you're not fully alongside by the time you reach the 6, back out. Just back out. You're not going to make it happen. This is a extremely high-speed circuit. There really aren't any heavy braking zones, as Amedeo alluded to, and heavy braking zones are your best overtaking chances. When you have the first corner, that's really the slowest corner on the track, and it's an extremely high-speed corner. This is just a fast track. There really aren't many overtaking spots, and quali is where you're going to do most of your overtaking.
Exactly. So
why don't we just do why don't we do a full lap here, Amedeo, from the top down of you just going through a brief explanation at full speed, and we just, like I say, discuss basically a full lap here. As I just am gonna turn all of the chat and stuff off real quick so I can get a recording of that. But yeah, why don't we just go ahead and do a full onboard lap here?
Yeah. So we start on the straight, of course. We go for turn one. Brake reference is the 200 meter board. There we want to make sure to prepare as better as possible the exit, because we have a long straight, as you can see, after turn one. So make sure to don't overshoot the entry and prepare better as possible the exit and use all the track on the exit. Then we go for the second straight. There could be an overtaking spot, but just make sure to overtake before the 600 meter board. We start to brake at the 300 meter board. Use all the track in the bus stop chicane. Use every curb. Then we lift a bit the throttle for this long right corner and touch a bit the brakes for rotate the car and use the track on the exit. There we downshift to third gear, stay very tight on the inside and touching a bit the curb and go very aggressively on throttle. For the next corner, make sure to don't overshoot the entry, because if you go too wide, you will go very wide, because the front of the car is touching a lot the ground in this corner. So always try to stay very tight in this one. For the next corner, we brake at the 200 meter board. We downshift to third gear, stay very tight again on the inside curb, go on throttle very nice, use all the track on the exit. You brake very early, stay very tight on all the corner and going on throttle very soon. Next corner, make sure to use all the track on the entry on the right. Touch a bit the brake for making the car rotate, go on throttle very early, use all the track. In this one, last corner, again, brake very early and safely for avoid the wall on the exit and prepare the exit as better as possible. And that's a lap on the Porsche GT4 on Watkins Glen.
Brilliant. Bravo.
Thank you.
As I will pull up all of the webcam, all of the alerts and everything back on screen here. And Amedeo, we got a question for you here, not necessarily about driving in general, but just wondering, can we get a fun fact from Amedeo about his sim racing here? What's a fun fact about Amedeo? Why don't you tell us a little fun fact about yourself?
About this track or in general about sim racing?
About you, anything. Give us an Amedeo exclusive.
A fun fact. It's hard a question right now.
Fun fact about him is he will be driving this Saturday in the SRO 24 Hours of Nordschleife. Yeah. That's one fun fact. He just participated in the Nause Championship as well. That's another fun fact. But come on, Amedeo, what's a fun fact about your give us something about your daily life that not many people know. that you're comfortable with sharing?
I mean, it's just driving a lot, of course, because doing setup, doing competition, and yeah, I mean, fun factor, it's not that fun for me. I don't know if it's really fun, but just that I drive most of the time with like my gloves are always broken on my right hands, only on my right hands. Like, um, I have always a hole on my fingers in these two fingers especially. Like, I have also two different type of gloves, but every time, even if you repair it, I don't know by why, but in these two fingers, I always have a hole on my gloves.
Was
I
that
don't know
from
if it's really
shifting?
fun. I don't know honestly because I'm shifting also on the left, but on the left it never happened. Only on the right.
You're
So
just
I
really
don't know.
aggressive on your upshifts, I guess. I don't know.
I'm not the only guy. I have some friends that they have the same problem on only in one hand and always in the same finger. So I don't know if it's a pro sim driver thing so at this point.
That's funny. I like that. That's a very fun fact. I hope that
Okay.
settles your needs, chat. I think that was very fun. And Mountain Gopher, thank you so much for joining us. Happy to have the tips. Let's head back to the booth here. But Amedeo, I think that's gonna do it here for tonight. Is there any concluding words that you have for these drivers as they get ready to head on to the Watkins Glen circuit next week?
Yeah, basically, the key that you have to take in mind is be safe in your entry in the corner for have a nice line and prepare the exit and be careful especially in the first lap on this chicane because you can be side by side, so make sure to give the space to other driver and don't send it hard in turn one in this corner because luckily there are high chance to have a big crash there, so just take it safe, guys, in lap one, especially because in this track it's just very hard to overtake. But yeah, make sure to do a good quali. That's the advice.
Exactly. Get a good quali lap in, and your day in the race will be significantly easier. But
Yeah.
Amedeo, again, thank you so much for the track guide. As always, I know that people have absolutely been loving it. The feedback's been great. We need more people involved here. Share this with your friends, everybody. Get it involved. It's 1 hour out of your day to learn a track that if you are going to be participating, even if you're not, you're learning tips for optimal racing lines. You're also learning when to get on throttle, when to get on the brakes, and everything in between, and even just basic tips about vision and whatnot. And if any of these things are something you want to learn any more about, head on over to Amedeo's Discord, link posted here in both of the chats. Join, get involved, get some tips, get some setups, and as well, 15% off for any of the coaching that you do end up choosing to do, courtesy here of TRACKILICIOUS. So Amedeo, again, thank you so much. Grazie mille.
Thank you, guys.
But anyways, chat, we are going to be back tomorrow, Wednesday, West Coast with Sagar Bakshi. We'll take a look at our schedule here on screen. We got the GT4 rookies this Monday. Guess what track? Watkins Glen. Congratulations, you guessed right. GT4 Open will follow that as well. That's what this track guide is all about, is Mondays. We have the NASCAR Truck Series over on iRacing. We also have the iRacing GT4 Championship. West Coast Wednesdays, as I just mentioned. Up next is going to be Alton Park. We got our GT3 Championship Sundays main event, and of course the special events, Spooky Suzuki Sunsprint at Zandvoort and Flooded Silverstone. A big thank you as well to all of our patrons. All of their wonderful names are on screen. Special thanks to the V12 Exotics. Also, of course, V8 Muscle, Inline 4, any server donors, Twitch supporters, subscribers. Even if you just hit the follow button or show up here on a regular basis, you guys are amazing. You are who we're here to stream for. You are the reason that we're here, and it is my pleasure to be a part of it. But until next time, I hope everyone has a lovely evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are in this fine world. Thank you, and good night.
Good night, guys.